Women are still winning today. My name is Dana Peck with the Afro-American Newspapers, and my co-host had to step away, Kevin Impeccable Peck, but he will be back and the show must go on. We really enjoyed that segment with Tressa, and I was taking notes. I hope you were too. She said content is king. You know what's also king? Owning your own stuff. She owns 11 titles. She owns completely outright, which means that her children could relicense any one of those films. That is true generational wealth. Next up, we are going to hear from Dia Sims. And Dia is an American business exec in the beverage industry, the spirits. In 2020, she was appointed as CEO of Lobos 1707 Tequila and Mezcal. And she used to be the president of Combs Enterprises. And Combs Enterprises was founded by Sean Puff Daddy P. Diddy Combs. And she was the first person to assume the role of president at the company. And today, she's going to be interviewed by our very own Misha Green on the topic of collabs and celebrity branding. So get the notebook ready, get your pen ready, and enjoy.
Hello, everybody. I am just so ecstatic to hop into this conversation with the great CEO extraordinaire herself, Miss Dia Sims. Oh my goodness. I know that she is going to give us all of the breakdown and the things that we need to know in celebrity branding and collaborations. But having been offline with Dia, I can also say we're gonna have a good time.
Yes. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Let's just dive on in and talk about you in this crazy world that we are in, because we are still in the middle of a pandemic and we forget that at times. Yeah. How are you doing? How is your life? How's your pandemic pivot?
Listen, first of all, thank you. I feel like actually nobody asked that question, so it's very thoughtful. Yeah, it's a pandemic, a revolution, just a little bit of a touch of World War III going. I mean, it is truly intense time. So honestly, I just, no matter what's going on, I just try to wake up every day and be grateful for air in my lungs and my feet hit the ground. Everything else is gravy. But it's definitely harrowing for us all to be pretending to be fully functioning in the midst of the challenges that we're experiencing in this world.
Absolutely. And, I think a lot of people really undermine the smiles and the hard work that we put on during this time. And so, again, I thank you for your grind and continuing to go out there and do the hard work for us all.
Yeah. No.
So, we're celebrating women who win, and there's a lot of women who are winners tuning into this conversation. And so I like to play a little game. And so I want to play this game during the interview throughout. And so I want you to put on your hypothetical hat, okay? All of these things may have happened before in your life, but it's not happening now, y'all. So don't be out there on social media talking about some Dia is experiencing. Okay. But I want you to put on your hypothetical hat and you are going to answer the questions to these hypotheticals. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. Let's go.
All right. You're headed to a make or break meeting with a particularly tough celebrity. What are you eating to make sure you're prepared?
I'm probably not eating anything. I'm gonna drink a little water. I'm probably not gonna eat till hours after the meeting. Honestly, I'm gonna eat up all the information I have to make sure I'm gonna kill this meeting.
Yeah, you and I are the same person. I'm like that anxiety hunger does me well. Okay. Yes. All right, so let's get in a little bit to the nitty gritty of your world and tell us about your trajectory into the world of being a CEO. And as a Black woman in a male-dominated industry and industries, because I know you've gone from marketing to everything, how are you able to leverage relationships to get to the point that you are today?
Yeah, so I mean, on the trajectory, I've done a lot of things. I started at the Department of Defense negotiating defense contracts straight out of college. So I was 21 and I was typically youngest in the room, only woman, only person of color for like a country mile. Fast forward to being 46, I'm still often, oddly, the youngest, only woman and person of color. And everything I can do to change that, I do to change that. In between, negotiating defense contract and working on trainer jets, if you will, I started to shift in learning a little bit more about sales and marketing. And I worked in radio and pharmaceutical sales. And when I was back working at a radio station in New York City called Power 105, I inherited like all the music labels as clients. At the time, Bad Boy Records, Puff Daddy, Brother Love, Diddy, whatever you may know him as, a legendary label, wouldn't advertise on the station out of loyalty to another station that's known as like a heritage hip hop station that really actually I think helped reverberate hip hop around the globe, which is Hot 97. But still, it was my job to make sure we was cracking that deal. So I did everything and made sure I was making all the great points about why they should consider advertising with us. And when I was able to get Bad Boy Records to run, it was New Edition at the time. New Edition was coming out, do advertising and promotion with us, and then I started to be able to get more and more business. And at one point, Puff was looking to hire a chief of staff. And one of his executives reached out to me and was like, "You interested in the job?" She was like, "I feel like you always sending me an email at 3 a.m. He don't sleep. Like maybe I will get along." And I had never been like an assistant or chief of staff before, but I'm like, sure, I'll interview for the job. Super quick interview. Puff came back and said, "Look, I'd like you to come on board, but you haven't managed large teams before. Would you be willing to start as my executive assistant?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't care what you call. I don't care about titles. This is what I need to make." And I feel like this is a place I could go and really learn a lot, which is really my primary motivation. And I started the week after my 30th birthday, October 5th, 2005. And then after that, with Puff, I went from his executive assistant and worked with him for 14 years. We built a lot of amazing things together, an incredible fragrance called Unforgivable. We sold $90 million in the first 9 months. We built a television network that I'm so proud of today called Revolt TV. And then our baby was building a brand called Ciroc Vodka, which had been out for a few years, but had been doing well. And then we negotiated a relationship with Diageo, terrific company, leading spirits company in the world. And we were able to turn that brand around from not doing well to being a multi-billion-dollar brand at its height. And even now, it still continues to do well. And I was actually just texting with Puff, who I still consider like a brother. And then I went on to work with now what I'm doing now with amazing notables like LeBron James and Draymond Green and Arnold Schwarzenegger on a new tequila called Lobos 1707, which was founded by a gentleman named Diego Sorio out of Spain.
Oh my goodness, your journey is so inspirational. It gives me all the feels. I got to ask this question, and I know we didn't talk about this before, but what gave you the faith and the courage to step out on these opportunities? Because it was not at all linear, it sounds like, and yet you did it, and you're still doing it.
It was not linear, and it was, in fact, faith. I think that makes me feel comfortable in any room, and then comfortable taking risk. I think one of the things I learned back in my Department of Defense days, I was trained in negotiations for 2 years, which I think everybody should get in like 3rd or 4th grade. And as part of thinking about how to negotiate, you need to think about how you manage and mitigate risk, right? And one of the things I've seen over the years, my journey has been that, particularly for women, enormously talented, have all the capability, but are more reticent to take the risk. And the truth is, to me, it would be much worse, right, to not take that chance to see whether you fail or you win than to just contemplate it and sit by yourself with that talent. A dear friend of mine always says that her version of hell is like at the end of her life being shown where she was versus where she could have been. Right. So I think for me, when I think about risk, it's like I don't ever want to face the dichotomy of what taking an extra risk, taking an extra step, staying an extra hour, making an extra relationship, right, could have been the difference in my overall life.
Y'all, the Reverend Dr. Dia Sims has come. No, I can't tell you how inspired I am just listening to you and your journey. All right, another fun question. You're headed to a tense board meeting, talking money, celebrity partners, and more. What's your playlist on the road to the meeting?
Oh, I might have a little vintage Beanie Siegel going. I might have a little Reasonable Doubt. I may switch it up with some Diana Ross, Lovely Day. I mean, I just need to feel inspired, energetic, I think, when I'm on the way.
I love that. And y'all go ahead and take your notes because you might need that on the way to your meetings because we're all women who win in this conference.
Yes.
All right. So we are talking celebrity branding and collaborations. And so I am interested in some of the most successful celebrity branding and partnerships you've seen. And yes, it can be some that you've been a part of. I would venture to say some of the ones you've been a part of have been huge and quite successful.
All right. Well, before I do love two that I haven't been a part of that I think are enormously well done and natural and organic are Rihanna and Fenty, which is more than an endorsement, right? I mean, I think it's such a natural collaboration. Beauty is really a difficult industry to infiltrate at that scale, and to come with a proposition that feels so organic, I think, to who she is, or at least what it appears to be, I think is really beautifully done. And also to speak to an audience that hasn't been fully embraced, right? In terms of just the right shades, the tone, the right materials, things that go into it. So I have a lot of respect for that collaboration. I also think what Ryan Reynolds did with Aviation Gin was so fun and so natural to his personality and funny and inviting, and in a category that wasn't really growing that fast at the time, he was able to stand out. And of course, objectively, listen, I wasn't obviously a part of this, but I think part of the reason why Ciroc Vodka was so successful was Puff has always been known as this master of celebration. If you've ever been to a Puff party, he cares so deeply about what's the person's favorite drink, what's the environment going to be like, what's the sensory journey, is the playlist all hits, right? He really cares that the person's going to have an incredible time. And I think that level of caring went into the way we rolled that product out, right? And the level of engagement with an audience that before, sometimes in the spirits industry, was paid attention to for a month at a time or a special retail occasion, or where he was very much like, no, I want to honor this audience. I want to not only have a respectful, requited relationship with that 21 plus and Black and brown people, but I want to hire them, and I want to hire their companies and their suppliers. I want to make sure they're in the boardroom and not just at the bar. And I think we saw such a response. The reason why that brand was so successful, and obviously today, running Lobos, which means wolves in Spanish, and it was our founder's crest in the 1700s. I think the thing that was so beautiful when, in kind of in early conversations with LeBron, is I started to learn a lot about wolf packs, right? And inside of our company, we use this Kipling quote all the time, which is, for the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. And it's such I think, a summation of the way LeBron has lived his life. Like his literal crew from high school, like today, each of them are killing it, whether it's what Maverick is doing or Rich Paul is doing or LeBron is doing, and all of them are killing it together, right? And I think it has macro implications for the way we should think about society in terms of like, yeah, do your part, but then you got to look to your left and right and make sure we rise in unison. And we've tried to build that brand this way. And it's so natural, I think, to who LeBron is that people are sensing that authenticity.
Thank you for that. And it really is cool to sort of hear not only your perspective on the effectiveness of these celebrity partnerships and collaborations, but I also really think I wasn't, really having this on the top of my head when we came into this, but you've really been a barrier breaker in this world of celebrity collaborations and partnerships. And so I want to just applaud you and lift that up because it's really, really cool and so incredibly important. So tell us a little bit about why celebrity branding is important, and does it truly impact sales?
Yeah, I don't think celebrity branding for celebrity branding's sake works, not for the long term. I think today's consumer is too smart too savvy, wants to understand, like, especially something they're ingesting, where is it coming from? Who's making it? And also, like, if you're talking about caring about the consumer, like, you can't fake it, right? You have to actually walk it like you talk it. So I think when you have a celebrity or, a luminary, a notable, or a micro influencer who knows the heck out of their particular craft, I think what people respond to is credibility as it pertains to the brand. Now, look, having a huge audience is, of course, helpful. And if you have a small brand, you have a chance to get in front of a huge audience, that's where celebrities can come in. But it becomes white noise if the audience doesn't believe there's a legitimate connection. And by the way, there's a celebrity brand graveyard, right? Of like a lot of celebrity brands who failed, because you cannot just throw your name on something and be like, oh, it's popping. The consumer's not going to go for it. I was a promoter in my 20s. And one of the things was just the same thing like with Puff, where like, you might come to my party once, but you got to be popping when you arrive, right? Like, I need to, when you come in, I'm going to know, like, oh, she takes her tequila, she wants a margarita up. This person, she likes to sit in this section. I already know who her 3 friends are. I'm going to bring her straight there. The music's going to be crazy. When the DJ walks in, I'm going to pay him when he walks in so he doesn't feel away. Like, you have to make sure the environment is rich for somebody to want to return. And I think a celebrity brand actually has to start with the brand. Right? What is the ethos? Is it a product you can be proud of? Is it serving a consumer need? Is there a white space you're filling? And then what is a potential natural match for somebody? And it's not always a celebrity. It might be like, oh, I'm coming out with these dope pans, so I picked 10 of the baddest chefs I know. The chef might only have 1,000 people on Instagram, but like, they know the hell out of their trade. They may be more credible than somebody who's super famous.
That makes a lot of sense. And I just want to echo and piggyback. I used to be a Ciroc girl back in the day. Back when I was young and cute. And but I think what was so amazing doing it, had just graduated college and was
I didn't know that.
Journalism. Yes, it was amazing. But I think one thing that I really liked about it is I was learning marketing during that time in such a major way. It was fun, obviously, and I got to look cute and all of that. But it was real. I had to work hard and really believe in the brand and believe in the face of the brand, right? And everything that you all were working hard to make very clear. And so,
oh my gosh, you buried me. We having a reunion. I didn't know that. I love that.
Yes. No, but it was very, very clear, and because of that, myself and my friends, who I'm still cool with, some of the girls I work with to this day, we really believed in the product. I will, be at a family event and be like, are y'all using the Ciroc Amaretto? I can tell you everything about it and why it works for the Thanksgiving meal, and, and really break it down. So, quick aside, y'all, I have our catch up, but I also just want to say that you're walking it like you talk it in so many ways. And I think because of that, everybody down to the consumer can believe in it. Of course, Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, whatever we want to call him, was cool to work for, right? Or to be under, but it was also that you all believed in it so much that it, we could as well. And it came across to the consumer. So, I'm curious if you can tell us a little bit about Lobos 1707 and the Lobos 1707 Wolf Pack, and what you've learned as a Black woman and CEO in the spirits industry. Again, this is not your first rodeo, but how it's also been collaborating with 2 men of color, and what that's been like navigating this world that is still very run by primarily white men.
Yeah, Lobo 1707 has been incredible. We launched, did a soft launch like November 2020, and we really went out last April for the national footprint. So I always love building something from scratch. This is a concept that the family, Diego Osorios, they've been in the spirits industry literally for centuries. I think sometimes we think something's old in America, and then you go outside and it's like, no, he literally like grew up, like dancing between huge bodegas of barrels that will be sold to all these premium whiskeys. So this is something that for him is it's his family name, it's his legacy. And I love that level of like passion and integrity when you're building a business, to feel like I was invited. I feel like frankly, I feel like it's an honor to be able to be a part of something that's really, it's family, right? And I fell in love with the product first. I've been fortunate I've been in the spirits industry on and off 25 years. I have literally tasted and seen, like, responsibly, hundreds of tequilas. When I tried this liquid, and all of our tequilas and our mezcal have a sherry finish, which gives it a little bit of just a lovely finish on the liquid, and you can really taste the difference. You can, taste it better than I can tell you. But for me, the first thing was like the liquid. And then on top of that, the story, the real heritage, the fact that even the name is from this man's family crest. And then the people behind it, when I got to meet the team who were invested in the brand, who LeBron came after, right? The brand was already formed, and just fell in love with the liquid like I did. Who all move like gentlemen and all move with the level of integrity and had such trust in the team that we were building. So to go from talking about it to now being in 31 states, to tripling our forecast, to being 50% women and 60% ethically diverse. And I often say that, like, our success is because of that, not in spite of that. It's something that I'm super proud of. And it's something that I certainly could never do by myself. I work alongside just some amazing, brilliant people who do what they do really, really well. And in terms of being like, male dominated, when I was in hip hop, if you will, I would get this question a lot. And I'm like, actually, first of all, at a certain level in C-suite, there really isn't, an American field that isn't male dominated. So whether I was in defense or fashion or movies or fragrance, right, or music or spirits, at a certain level, the rooms are all male dominated. So we have to do what we can to change that. I recently co-founded with two other people, Erin Harris and Dan Sanborn, an initiative called Pronghorn. And it's a template on how to effectively diversify any industry. We call it, the name Pronghorn is an animal that's in Montana, kind of looks like an antelope, but it's actually not at all. And it's the second fastest land mammal in the world, second only to the cheetah. If they were in a race, the cheetah would win in a sprint, but in a marathon, the pronghorn would win every time. It can go like 55, 60 miles an hour. So when we thought about what is it going to take to diversify an industry, we're like, we got a lot of ground to cover, but we don't have a lot of time. So this animal so beautifully manifested the idea that we need to go far, but we need to go fast. And we are starting with the spirits industry, and we're starting with the Black community. And we are investing in 57 Black-owned founders over the next 10 years. And we're looking to hire 1,800 new Black entrants into the spirits industry at large over the next 10 years. And it'll drive a $2.4 billion impact. So if you're a founder, if you're interested in the industry, it's pronghorn.co. But we are looking to change the industry, and we're doing an open code so we can change the next industry after that.
Oh my goodness, that is so incredibly amazing. Y'all, I've learned about an animal and really been inspired by your emphasis and focus on bringing other Black people to the table.
Yeah.
I have to ask that follow-up question. Why is that important? Why have you and your partners in Pronghorn found that is the next step?
Well, I think it's two things. One is, just as a Black woman, I know 100% that I bring value to every room that I go into, and all the data backs that up, right? Forget the altruism of it. It's just good for business to be as diverse as possible. So like, if you're not doing it for your heart, do it for your wallet. It's a disservice to your organization if you're not actually paying attention to the fact that you can be more profitable, have more retention, and have more innovation if your organization is more diverse. And then secondly, we're in this incredible time. We all joke that, like, I'm tired of living in historically unprecedented times, but it's a little bit of a gift to see just a difference in my lifetime of in the last few years, where you have this groundswell of good intentions and interest, and DEI, for good or bad, is now a buzzword. But it frustrates, maddening to me to see that conversation happen, and no one's really talking about the economic underpinning or talking about entrepreneurship and wealth building. So if we can change something, let's change something. And I think I'm fortunate, I feel like, to be able to assemble a group, to be able to assemble the financial wherewithal that let's change it. Like, I grew up in, if you can get a B, you can get an A. You can't watch a problem if you can solve it.
Thank you for that. All right, another fun question. So your board is, well, this might not be that fun. But your board is concerned, admittedly, but hypothetical. Your board is concerned about a potential celebrity partner with a checkered past. But you believe in this celeb, and the celeb believes in the brand. How are you advocating for this celebrity?
Oh, well, listen, I think people have to, and listen, you can imagine I've had this conversation, right? Hey, we have to be future forward and approach these opportunities with a level of modernity. And I think you have to have empathy and forgiveness about people's situations. And I can speak, at least for America, if this particular celebrity is a Black or brown person, I'd have to have a careful lens about what's being perceived as checkered, right? You have populations who are highly over policed. So you can even look as an example with cannabis, where we know cannabis consumption historically has the exact same rates in Black and white communities. And yet you see Black people in police, something like, being in prison for it, something, I don't know, 5 to 10-fold. So one, you got to look at it within the context of the current justice system that we're under to know, like, is it really checkered, or is this somebody a victim of being in an over-policed neighborhood? And two, like I said earlier, I'm faith-based. I'm a Christian. I'm not going to throw stones at somebody. If somebody on the road to redemption and looking to build something and build and give jobs, then we need to be a part of that story. That's the real American dream, is the great comeback story.
There you have it, y'all. There you have it. So what are some of the reasons celebrities decide to align with particular brands? And if I'm an entrepreneur and I'm trying to get a particular celebrity, what are some of the ways you would suggest I go about getting the celebrity to support my brand or partner with me?
I think, I can't speak for all celebrities, but I think that, when it's a natural interest, just like anybody, and it's something that you're doing anyway, then it makes sense. Like if you're an artist and you love to see, you love to support burgeoning artists, but they don't always have a chance, and you want to collaborate to do a in-studio kit that you can get on Amazon at your house, right? And that's a natural thing, right? To help a next population, but you can also, you can do well and do good at the same time, right? It is something that you can do that are good for the people, but it also has financial upside. Those things don't have to be mutually exclusive. So I think celebrities are looking for opportunities to be great beacons and be great lights, but also figure out a way that they can serve their family and serve their financial needs. In terms of thinking through what to look for, as much as you can, like you may bring something unique to the table, but there are so many things that just haven't been done yet. And we tend to confuse improvement with innovation, right? So just talk about flavor profiles. There are thousands of like spices and fruits that the American palate, we just don't do anything with. Like star fruit is delicious. We don't do much with that. Lychee's delicious. Palm just had a comeback because it had great branding, but it wasn't a thing 30 years ago, right? I personally always feel like pears need to get more market share from apples. Like there are areas that are right in front of you. It doesn't have to always be like such a huge, big idea. It could be an everyday idea with a celebrity who's a beautiful, natural fit for it. And sometimes it's important to study them and think through what is going to actually be natural for their lifestyle, because most likely they have a very hectic life. And if you're trying to force something that doesn't fit, it's going to be uncomfortable and not exciting or interesting for them. And then the consumer is going to have a cognitive dissonance of feeling like, this doesn't feel natural. And that's the last thing you want a consumer to feel when you're trying to invite them to be a part of your brand.
And so on the other side of things, you've worked with many celebrities. You just talked about the fact that LeBron came on to Logo 1707 after enjoying the flavor profile of the product. But what are some of the things that you look for in a celebrity that makes them a strong ambassador or a strong partner?
I think they have to understand like the commercial implications of what needs to be done, and that it's difficult to live at kind of the juxtaposition between commerce, creative, and culture, right? And I'm always very respectful of, you don't want somebody to feel like they are adulterating their craft or what they're passionate about to feel like they're just a shill, right? Like selling something. So you have to respect the artist. But conversely, the artist has to understand and respect the regulatory boundaries. I'm in the spirits industry as an example. It's a highly regulated, one of the few industries that has a constitutional amendment, right? Dedicated to it. So it's important that artist is willing to take that seriously, right? And that like, look, if we're going to take something like this on, we have to take it seriously. And it goes back to what you said before. When Puff and I started working on Ciroc, there weren't a ton of those kind of relationships. Puff took it very seriously, and I took it very seriously to be like, we want to kill this so that we're very clear that whether it's fair or it's not fair, this is going to represent like what the interest level is. So we don't want to like open the door, we want to smash the door so everybody can come through. And all the next 100 deals that came after it were partially, I think, because of some of the success for Ciroc. That's what we want to be doing. And I think you want to be with a talent who hopefully isn't thinking about it in a singular way and is thinking about it in a way like, I'm going to kill it, but that's because I want to grow the industry and I want to grow the opportunities. That for me is important to somebody that I would work with.
And so I know that you are a mom as well and a wife. And so I'm curious how you're able to balance CEO and family life. Particularly, I just turned 30. I'm trying to get your Diddy. Thank you. I'm trying to get your Diddy luck and your love luck.
So it's two things. I think one is I would quit. If I thought for 1 second, like my working was causing any meaningful harm to my family, I would quit. I would go get a strawberry farm and call it a day. Like you have to know that this is your real life. Like my husband and my daughter and my family and my friends, that's my real life. And I'm happy to any success I have, but it means literally nothing as it compares to what we're here for, which is really, it's corny, but it really is love and great memories. That's what it's all about. And then the second thing is, I don't even use the word balance. And I say this all the time. If you're trying to get work-life balance, it is a mirage in the desert and you will die of thirst trying to pursue it, at least for this generation. I hope maybe my granddaughter I figured it out. So instead of people say, oh, how do you juggle it all? I said, I don't juggle it all because I'm not a clown, right? What I try to do instead is think like a batting cage and knock whatever's in front of me out the park. I'm in the park with my daughter, as an example. I'm going to be all in that moment. I'm trying to negotiate a $100 million deal. I'm going to do the best I can in that moment. But if you're constantly doing it all, then you're just a octopus on roller skates where there's a lot of activity, but you're not going anywhere.
Thank you for that. Look, my notebook is going to come out right after we're done. So I can write these gems down. Okay, last fun question, and then we'll say these are last two sort of fun questions, but our last ones. So you're headed to a networking party, and you know your desired celebrity partner will be there. Are you in first heels or comfortably stylish flats?
Heels.
Okay, dress or pants, ensemble or suit?
Dress.
Okay, controversial question, but you're in spirits. But actually someone asked me this question. You live in the DC area. I was at the park for a meeting.
Shout out to Mark Barnes.
Yes, shout out to Black-owned businesses and Mark Barnes. But I was curious there. Someone was asking, well, should I drink? Because, we're at a meeting. I'm like, we're at the park, yes. But are you drinking or are you not drinking?
You know what? Fortunately, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm a responsible drinker, right? So if I have the glass, it's never going to be a problem. I think you have to know yourself though, right? So like, if you don't feel like you're a person who's going to be fully able to be in control, then I think you have to make a decision. But one simple thing I always say is take a sip of water. Just always take a sip of water to keep yourself measured and balanced. It depends on the format, but I'm like you said, I'm in the spirits industry, so I'm not just drinking. I'm trying to make everybody else drink responsibly.
Yes, good. And I will tell this mentee who I was with, just one sip of your drink, one sip of water. I said, don't go crazy now, but I like your way better. Who, if you can share, our last question, who are some of your fave celebrity partners and collaborators?
Let me see. I've been fortunate. I didn't really have any I don't have they're pretty good experiences, but listen, I worked with Puff for 14 years. Of course, we built a lot of amazing things together. I count him as a brother. It's been wonderful working with LeBron. He has been such a shows up early, is prepared, is like none of the, he's disciplined. Like it's a level of discipline that you can see like, oh, I see why you're a champion. Like everything is level of organization and commitment to the task at hand that is extraordinary. It's obvious why he's so successful. And golly, I'm trying to think of some women. I would also say Khaled. Khaled has been really fun. We worked together on Ciroc Apple and a few other different projects, and it just brings such an enormous like positive energy. It's like, you know, having a motivational speaker with you every second, and you leave feeling like refreshed and inspired because he's like, we can do it, another one. So
I think that's you too, though, dear. I'm just saying. Well, you know, those are all great answers. This has been an amazing time. I cannot thank you enough for
thank you.
Your transparency, your honesty, and your grind. You know, as I said in the beginning of this conversation, you know, I knew I was talking to the Dia Sims, but it truly didn't dawn on me how much you've done in terms of opening doors for other people. And, you know, I just, for one, need to say, the Afro really is giving you your flowers while you can totally appreciate them, and we will continue to do so. And so please come back and see us.
Oh my gosh, of course. I'm so grateful to be with this prestigious news. I mean, this, you know, the Afro is our heritage and it's a legacy, and it's important that we support it. So, I mean, you know, anybody who's watching, make sure you go on IG and support the Afro. This is, these are the kind of outlets that tell our stories through our lens, and incredibly important for us.
Well, thank you so much. You be blessed and take care.